I would say it's never too late. I mean, I'd say the obvious thing, it's never too late. What are you passionate about? Is it a cause? What is your cause? What are you passionate about? Take that cause. You just got to practice it. If you've ever played an instrument, you know that. It doesn't happen overnight. It has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with practice, practice, practice. Put your hours in. I practice real hard because I am not naturally talented. I work really hard at it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rodney Veal's Inspired By podcast. I'm Rodney Veal, the host. And today I get to talk to Tina Gutierrez, who is, well, she's more than just a photographer. And I think that's the thing that I find very fascinating about her. She has so many interests and so many artistic abilities and outputs, and I was just so fascinated reading your bio and diving into your work and fanboying out on the imagery, and because that's where I fanboy out. She is I don't know her as well as only through her work and the words that she's spoken, but wow, she's here on our podcast. So Tina, welcome.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here.
It's an honor for us. I mean, I am just like, wow, she took the time out of her day. I'm like, this is all good. So, okay, so this is kind of like the hot tub time machine where you go back in time. Because for the reason being, I'm always curious as an art maker myself. What was that? What started this journey? I'm just out of curiosity because it is fascinating.
That's a really great question. And I do feel, it could be the ADD, why I have so many interests. I do feel like I'm curiosity driven. I've always been that way. Just when we talk about what we want to do when we're kids, and I had wanted to either be a musician or a photographer. And I love dance. And my parents would put us into all kinds of different things, expose us to many different art forms. But it is an interesting sort of crazy combination, So I decided I was torn between photography and music, and then I got a full scholarship for classical guitar. So I decided, okay, well, I'm not going to turn that down. Plus I love music, and I took it and did that for a little while. And but all along I was photographing my friends who were musicians and doing headshots, and and also when I was a kid, my sister and I used to take the sheets off the bed and we tie them up, and because I love fashion too, and I do a lot of costuming for it and clothes, dressing the people in the photos. And so we'd be tying the sheets up and doing all these different things and draping them around each other and making hats for the cats, and
just the stuff the kids do. I mean,
yeah. And I just never really lost the taste for that. And then later started to wear vintage clothing and learned vintage dance and tango. And I studied with this, also I had a bridal shop for 24 years too. So fashion, like beautiful fashion was always, I know, right?
What?
Yeah. I loved fashion so much. And I wasn't really honestly making a great living playing classical guitar. And so I thought, well, what can I do? I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I'm like, what can I do that is a high ticket item? Because I didn't want to keep track of multiple tiny little things. So I thought, I love fashion, bridal gowns. I'm going to start a consignment bridal shop. And that's what I did. And then later it became more and more high end, and just started working with all these European designers and got to really get my hands on beautiful fabrics and tailoring and designs. And so it was just great. And so I never really lost so I sold that about 15 years ago. That's when I decided, okay, now it's time for the photography phase of my life. And I had been taking pictures of the gowns, and I really I'm like, okay, it's time to be a photographer. And so I sold the shop and sort of then combined all those different elements into the photography and the work I do. On top of that, I have a really strong social justice bent.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely. Oh yeah. Keep going, but we're gonna get to that.
But so does that kind of answer the question? Like where all these different influences came from?
Well, I love that because we've been doing this podcast for this is our third season. And so for me, I have that same curiosity. I'm just always like, well, how did they get started? Because, and what was intrigued by, I said, when I saw movement as a part of your life and your journey,
Mhm.
and I was like, that's my world. I come from a dance background.
Oh, okay.
I started off in visual arts, ended up with a political science degree, visual arts degree, ended up dancing. I mean, it's and I'm finding out that a lot of artists that we've talked to all have said kind of similar things. Like, well, I did
Yeah,
this, but then I did that, and then it led to this. That the journey was never linear, and that's what I was like, oh, come
yeah,
on, move it. And then you start. I didn't realize you had a consignment shop for bridal gowns, which was
yeah,
then it kind of morphed into fashion, which I love. So
yeah, yeah.
I'm in. I'm in. We're in.
Oh,
We're in.
awesome. Well, hey, let
So,
me tell you, then my main influence in the photography. Oh, I shouldn't touch the laptop and make it shake. But
it's okay.
um, my main influence on the dance and the movement and the alignment aspect of my photography, you probably know this dancer, Fanchon Shur. I studied
Yes.
with her for 10 to 15 years off and on, and she's in every photograph I take, and her influence was very powerful in my life, and not just for dance and photography, but just as a human being.
Oh, absolutely.
So
And I mean, it was infused, and I know Franchon, and I, full disclosure to my audience, I'm the president of the board of Ohio Dance, still in my, wearing multiple hats like you, multiple dresses, coats, however you want to describe it. It just it's just, it, looking at the photography of dance and looking at how you capture movement is
mhm,
just, I mean, you could point a camera at something moving, but to understand how to sculpt movement
mhm, mm.
takes a knowledge and an aesthetic awareness, and you have it in spades.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, no,
Oh.
like I said, I fanboy out. So I'm one of those.
Well,
Yeah,
dance is the hardest thing, right, to
yes,
photograph because the technique has to be like I really want to be true to the dancer's technique. I want to show them in a great light. I get their input, really make sure that they're happy and I'm not a ballet dancer and I do photograph quite a few ballet dancers, so I'm always learning from them about okay, this muscle right over the kneecap of my left leg is a little not pronounced enough. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So learning constantly. But I did get my initial sort of alignment ideas and form and sense of it as dance aesthetic from Fanchon. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And that's because, but then, like I said, it shows through. And I love this, like that you still talk about it in terms of like learning. Like it's like okay,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not like you're like I know how the body moves. No, it's like you. I get the sense that it's not. When I say like I'm not just pointing the camera, it's not about it is composition, but it's not composition. It's about presence
Mm.
and you being present in that knowledge base and that collaborative sense comes through,
Oh,
and
thank
not just in the
you.
imagery, and it, really, really, really does.
Well, it is.
Uh,
It's always a collaboration. I mean, and to get to work with some of the dancers I've worked with is such an honor. And to not and every body is different. Every dancer is completely
mhm.
different, and to not really respect their individual form and their individual style and their body and their aesthetic and their expression is it's just it's an important it's a collaboration. It's always a collaboration. It's never
Oh,
me pointing the camera.
yeah, and it comes, and I think, and it also translates to the portraits, and also I mean, I was just like I said, I spent a weekend having fun diving into your world, and I was like, I'm loving this. Well, and
Um,
that's well, but the thing is, like, you, you your work is, and I'm kind of curious about because you talk about your roots, your Hispanic roots and your Appalachian roots, which is
mhm, mhm,
I immediately thought of one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Bing Davis. He's African American but Appalachian,
mm.
and he really it is like this. I just find that just juicy and sweet. Like, so what parts of your
Oh,
heritage kind of weave themselves into how you make your work?
oh gosh. Oh,
You didn't expect that, did you?
I wasn't expecting that one. That's a great question. Well, my mom is an artist and she's a Scotch Irish Appalachian. And so, this attention to detail of really looking deeply. And also I grew up in the antique business. So my parents were antique dealers.
Oh,
So my mom was always, we were always going to the antique shows, and she was always showing us, through her artistic eye, um, these beautiful objects that we would then buy and sell. Um, and so, yeah, I think the appreciation for art really came from her. And the music, of course I love Celtic music.
oh,
Like, who
yeah.
doesn't, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
uh, like Rihanna Giddens, she's one of those sort of,
Oh.
African American Appalachian. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
We're not worthy. That's like,
Oh my God, yeah. So she's so great, and I gotta love a fretless banjo, with gut strings, and and then my father, who's from Cuba, is, I got my love of Spanish music and guitar, and then probably, being fairly pale skinned, was able to have access to both worlds, and he's very dark, and to see how people would, when I was younger, I was actually darker and I had, dark hair, and I looked a little more Hispanic, and people treat me very, very different now that I have this hair. And it's just very, very interesting. Now I'm being treated as completely white. And so I have this really special entree into both of these worlds. And I think a privilege and a duty to point out what I think should happen, which is, we all get along and we all have racial harmony. And I'm also trying to unite the parts of myself in these photographs that are so diverse and different and unseen and yet seen. And I don't know, it's complicated, Rodney.
but that's but I love you said
Yeah,
it's complicated. Oh my God,
yeah.
as a person of color, I do understand that complexity. It's like
Mhm.
it's this question. It's all there. I was having this conversation yesterday. I went to the closing of an exhibit for Amina Robinson in Springfield at the Springfield Art Museum, and it was this question of that complexity was showing up in her work. I mean, it was a retrospective work because she's no longer with us. I mean, they had portrait drawings that she had done when she was 8 years old, all the way up to these tapestries of material in 2015 when she passed away. It was such a span. I was like, oh,
Mm,
but it was inside of everything was always the question of that complexity. And I feel like I'm kind of curious about, like, that complexity also drives the social justice train
mhm.
in your work. You're not running from it. And I'm
Oh
just kind of
no.
curious of like what I mean, how do you go from classical music to learning music and the movement? I mean, and the bright and and fashion turns into the photography. I mean, were you studying photography the entire time, or was it just like I
No,
just
no.
really?
I started studying it near the end of my bridal shop career, because I
Wow.
really couldn't afford to hire photographers and I needed better technique, to photograph the gowns and to do the advertising I needed to do. And so I had taken quite a long hiatus from it because, film, digital wasn't quite good enough yet. And film was, I just didn't have time and it was expensive. And so then
Mhm.
once digital got good enough, I'm like, okay, it's time for me to take this back up and start learning. And okay, so I went, I studied, I did some weekend workshops. I did study with Michael Wilson, of course, who's, again, amazing, had some mentors. And the rest of it, I said I went to YouTube University. Um,
Amazing.
you can learn so much on YouTube.
Mm.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, there's you can watch Annie Leibovitz working, who is one of my also main photography influences. Peter Lindbergh, all these amazing photographers.
Mm.
There's so much to learn on there, and I'm so so very very grateful. And being curious, that lends oneself to going down the YouTube rabbit hole and exploring. But I
Yeah.
really am so thankful because when I was a kid, we didn't even have internet. So
Oh, I know. I mean, the library. It's like, which,
Right.
it's like, and which is so different for this current generation. And I love the fact that you just like, oh, let me learn it. I mean, it's not you're not, I mean, I'm searching for the words for it, not to like to insult those who went and got degrees, and I have degrees. I mean, no, everybody's journey is different, and so it's like I think that's really nice to be able to say, "Hey, folks, just pick it up, give it a whirl, see where it takes
Yeah.
you." But it's so,
Not hard.
but it's not hard. I mean,
Hard.
it's like you've got to just make the investment of time and energy and,
Yeah.
and just making the space for it. And so it's like I just get like, wow, I love YouTube University because well, it was really funny because I grew up in, a man of a certain age at 60. um I didn't learn all the techniques of making art. Like, I learned the basics of it, but I mean there's a difference. Like,
It's true. It's true.
and
And
then
there are
and I'm
definitely
like,
parts missing. I feel definitely I have parts missing for sure.
yeah, but you're still trying to, like, you're trying to accumulate the parts, but in the interim, your body of work does not belie it's the talent of the eye. It's a talent. It's like, do you trust, like, are you looking through the lens trusting your instincts, or are you, it's not just technique? Because I can tell it's not just technique. I'm curious about your intuition.
Well, so I do have a process, and so yeah, I try to get the technical things set up and out of the way first. Um, and then I'm looking at alignment. Is the body aligned first? When I work with a client or a subject, I go through a series of movement exercises, some Feldenkrais, some Alexander, to get them to relax, to align the spine. Um, and and especially actually with dancers, because dancers are used to stage face, right? Like, which is very, very different than photo face. Like, stage face is big and it's to the world and to project.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, I
exactly.
know.
But
Fully aware.
a photograph is an intimate thing, and if you do stage face in a photograph, it ain't gonna work. So we go through a whole.
Scare people.
It is, yeah. And not just with dancers, but anybody, there's this idea of what they're supposed to look like. And I have to get through that mask of what it's supposed they any kind of preconceived idea of what it's supposed to look like, and just get them to this natural, relaxed state, where because our jaw, as soon as a camera gets pointed in front of somebody's face, our jaw clenches up and our eyebrows go like this, because that's a natural state of
Yeah.
fear or surprise. That's a little
Yeah.
scary, right? And I might be a little scary. um,
Not even close. Not even
um,
close.
but it is
It
a
is
scary
intimidating.
situation. Yeah, it really is. So we'll go through like 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes of these exercises, and I'll
Oh.
really work with them. And it's very a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is really therapeutic, and I feel so relaxed now." And then throughout the session, I'll remind them, "Okay, relax the jaw, relax the eyebrows," and there might be some
Mm.
other parts of the face that, like, sometimes somebody might have most people have an asymmetrical face, and it's usually because there's some, like, mine is on this side. If you look real
Yeah.
close while I'm
Yeah.
talking, you probably notice there's more lines in my face on this side. So really observing the patterns in the face and getting to then, okay,
Wow.
have the person relax that side of the face, maybe tense this side a little bit. There's just all these different
Oh,
techniques I've learned over the years. It's
oh, like,
crazy. I'm obsessive. I might be okay. I'm a little bit of a geek.
but
Okay, maybe I'm a lot of a geek.
but you're a lot of, but that's okay though. It's like
Yeah,
I feel like
I
that's,
love being a geek.
who does. I mean, I call myself a nerd. I'm like the art nerd, the ultimate art nerd. I'm like,
I
I
love
get to
that.
do this. I get to do this for a living. I get to talk to artists and explore their art making and make my own. And I mean, come
Nice.
on,
It's the
it,
best.
it is the
Because who
best.
I want to be if I wasn't Mies, I would be Terry Gross. I would be Terry Gross. That's
I love it. I love it. So I'm very curious about, because the underwater photography,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, come on. I mean, I'm like, wow. What jump started that? I mean,
Oh gosh.
jumping in the
Ah,
pool, so to speak,
well, I
diving
always
into
love
the
swim.
pool.
Yeah, I always love water. I did already know how to scuba dive, and I saw this. there was this Australian photographer, and many people have seen this photograph. She's most known for this photograph of a horse underwater looking up. And
Mm.
then later saw her, she's Australian, Zena Holloway. I saw her photographs of these, I believe, Japanese pearl divers. And that was the first
Ooh.
time I'd seen anyone photographed underwater that was looking for beauty, right? In a
Mm.
human being. It was always animals or I grew up watching Jacques Cousteau, so
Right. It's there's a
yeah,
fish and there's a whale or a dolphin, yeah,
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 but
yeah.
never really thought about the human form until I saw her work, and I'm like, oh, this is it. I have to do this. There was no question whether I was going to do it or not. It just had to happen. And this is how I usually approach things. I'll want to do something, and then I find out, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a lot to learn. So I have to choose things I'm really, really passionate about, because otherwise, and underwater was one of them. It was like, I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna figure it out. And it was unbelievable. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done, because there are just so many variables, and the
Right.
water presents not only, obstacles, but danger. Um,
Mm.
and to and so I'm really on the with those images, I'm working with very high level dancers who, I honestly, I think that these dancers, are some are probably the only human beings on the planet who could do that kind of imagery, because they have such discipline and control over their bodies. And then next is the face, to be able to relax the face underwater when you got water
That
going in your eyes and
uh,
your nose, and it's
that
uncomfortable. It
face.
is
It is
uncomfortable.
right.
But dancers, they're trained to handle discomfort and to look, um, uh,
Like it's effortless. Like there's no
yeah,
sense of, and that's what I was that's what I was drawn to when I looked at those photographs of how you got that sense of serenity and
yeah. Well,
like
we
I
work hard.
mean,
We do it a million times. I'm constantly showing them the photographs, so I'm under there with them. I have a lot of people ask. I have a custom housing made for my camera, so it's a high-end professional camera with a custom housing. So I have lots of all the controls, the manual controls. I have sometimes strobes. I have assistants on the deck with reflectors, or I'm using underwater strobes. And so we surface when every 2 or 3 breaths. Then I come and show them what we've done, and they can see. A dancer can self correct, and I'll give coaching. And I have a certain style that I do like, and I'll try to coach that style. Um, and they can see that there's bubbles coming out of their nose, and that their mouth is, or they're going like this, or they're going like that,
that
or they can. I mean, I don't. They can see it.
you right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
so I
then,
mean, so keep going because I'm
oh,
kind of
well,
curious. So
okay, well, so, and the other thing is, dancers also don't have a lot of body fat, so they tend to sink. And so we really want to keep them as close to the surface as possible, because that's where the light is really pretty. The lower you get, the more loss of light and color you get. So
mm,
that's their struggle, and they also say it's the hardest thing. They had no idea how hard this was going to be. But it's a testament to their skill and training and persistence. They don't stop. I mean, I've had people ask me, well, why don't you do this form or maybe yoga? I'm like, no, those people are, they're trained to stop when they're just uncomfortable. Like, no, you can't have
you
that.
can't have that. You got to push it to the extreme. Come on.
Exactly. So I really think those highly trained dancers, they're
Mm.
just superhuman. I'm so in awe of their ability. Yeah.
So are you filming this in Cincinnati? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
where? How do you okay,
Well, I am at the mercy of who will lend me their private heated pool. So if you know anybody, and anybody listening or watching, and it should be, it has to be it has to be a private pool. Can't do it because we take over the pool. I need it for a
right.
couple days. I have access
Wow.
to bathrooms. Yeah. So if anybody out there wants to lend me their
Cincinnati,
pool, they might get a
Southwest
free
Ohio.
print. They might get a free print out of
Oh,
it. Yeah.
oh, there we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And they absolutely should do it for that reason alone. If they know
Absolutely.
it's like you're
Absolutely.
gonna have this fabulous work of art. And so it's I love the fact that you talked about, like, I had to figure it out and it takes this time. And I think I honestly think that the most effortless photographs are the ones that are invested with so much thought. Like you've taken out the once you've thought it through, then once you're in there, then it can happen. Versus, oh, I'm going to force it. You're like, they don't. Nothing seems forced. And of course, I'm seeing the final
Yeah.
product. I'm seeing the final
Yeah,
product.
you
So
see the 3,000 pictures.
the
Yeah.
ones are like, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is your edit process like when you once you do you
Well,
know?
it's the culling, the getting rid of all the bad stuff that takes the longest. I mean, because there's, with movement, especially, you have to take so many more pictures than anything else because that microsecond of a point being perfect or not perfect is
Right.
fleeting, or the face being in the right
Mhm.
position. So that happens faster than the eye can see. And I have learned to anticipate like when the apex of the movement will come. But then
Mm.
also sometimes it's the going into the movement that can be interesting, or the coming off of it that can also be a more
Ah.
really interesting personal image as opposed to this professional looking image. And some of those I really love too. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, I mean, well, it was about the culling. It's about this, like, where,
The edit
especially
process.
when move. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
the culling and then getting it down to just, okay, which 4 or 5 or 6 do I think are going to be the most impactful? And then I start to begin the retouch process, which underwater, there's so much particulate in the water that each piece has to be hand. So we're still not to a point where, at least I don't know how to get to the point where I can just remove that. I mean, you can do the removal of the background, but then it kind of looks like that's what you did. And I
Right.
wanted to really them to be in the space that they were in. And so I'm meticulously hand retouching each tiny little dust particle, and it makes me crazy, and I hate it. It's the worst part. It's just so unglamorous. People see the photo, the finished photo, and they're like, "Oh,
And
it's so glamorous," and like, no, it's a lot of water up the nose, and then it's a lot of sitting.
it's so
But it's
true.
worth it. It's worth it.
But it's worth it. But I think that's every. I mean, I think that's every artist I've ever talked to, and even in the other fields and genres, it's the, it's the stuff where the I've talked to comedians and the process they go through of kind of testing out material before it ever really gets, and they're constantly tweaking it and refining it. I'm thinking, oh my God, I didn't realize just how they depend on journals and writing. I'm like, because we think it's performative, so it just automatically emanates. Oh no,
No, no, no. Oh
no,
no. And
this is.
I'm going to attribute to my music training
Mm.
the be to knowing that if I just keep at it, it will happen. So that 10,000 hours of sitting alone in a practice room and the discipline of playing those scales over and over and over and over and over again in my earlier life has, I feel like, really, I don't know that I would have kept going with the photography to the point, with some of these images, other than I know that if I just keep going and practicing, that it will get better. So and dance, dance, you know that, like, it's the same thing. Practice, practice. And
Right.
it isn't just practice. It's, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So
Oh,
finding,
thank you for
yeah,
saying that one.
finding teachers and mentors that will, who are the highest quality caliber people I can surround myself with, who will give me authentic, positive, and honest feedback. So yeah, yeah.
That is such a real. I mean,
Ugh,
there's only. I don't know about you, because I mean, for me personally, I only have a. There's like only two. Yes. There you go.
gotta get photo focus.
Photo focus. Well, that's a good question. Like, it's good for people to understand. Like, you have to get feedback on your work, and there's only like two people I trust to look at the works that I create,
Mm,
to kind of really have the honest conversation with me about where this is headed, where, like, with the work. And it's really fascinating that, I discovered that through this podcast. Oh, that's what you've been doing. Oh, photo folk, that. And so, who at Photo Focus is your favorite go-to person? I mean, is it just.
well, photo focus has really been more of, there are people within that I will share my work with, and friends that I've made and teachers. But the organization itself has been very supportive of my work. They
Mm.
provide these opportunities for me to, and everybody who goes to the the festival and the events that they do, to have access to these famous photographers and their work, and to learn, especially, this was a mid to slightly later life career change for
Yeah.
me, as not a kid entering school and learning in a traditional way. um, I can't say enough about them, and it's mostly free, and uh,
I don't know what else to say other than I mean, which I'm
it's
in
a great
agreement.
organization. Go see everything they do,
I
and
and
take your friends. I mean, it's the best.
I wrote a I was
Here's
telling
the
someone that
here's the mug. It's
yeah,
probably backwards, but here's the mug. Yeah.
here's the mug, photo focus. I'm laughing because one of these I wrote a story about photo focus and said, folks, where else in the world could you take half of
Mhm.
a state, a chunk of a state, Southwest Ohio, and go to all these different locations and see all these different types of representation of the photographic medium in these different communities? Take it all. You could turn it into literally a field trip vacation.
I have a friend who
Come
tries to go to
on.
all of them, and you can barely do it.
No.
There's so much. It's so rich. It's so diverse. It's everywhere. It tries to include everyone, and
Mhm.
I just cannot say enough. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
I'm
don't
so
think that
grateful
people
and thankful.
all of all places, Southwest Ohio, Cincinnati, Dayton. I mean, we're talking it's a large geographic footprint. I just like
Yeah,
I'm just in awe of them, and I can't wait for their building to be finished so I can
I
go in. And
know.
I'm like, it's like
Me neither.
it's like the dream. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I because it was really funny. It's right across the street from Gabriel's Corner,
Hmm.
which I love because I performed at Gabriel's Corner. I've done Cincinnati Fringe. And so every time I come out, I go, one day I'll be able to do Fringe and go across the street and look at some photos.
I got out of my car the other day and walked around the building, and I touched it just because I'm so excited. I'm like, I'm going to touch the building.
Isn't it the best? It's like the best thing.
It's beautiful. Oh my God, the brickwork is like the building. I think they wanted it to the quality of the building with
Mhm.
Jose Garcia as the architect. They wanted the quality of the building to reflect the quality of what they bring to the table, and it does. It
It
does.
is high level.
Yep.
I don't think people understand.
I'm Bonnie Miles, Membership Coordinator of CET. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and ThinkTV, two local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org.
If you're enjoying this conversation, The Art Show, also hosted by Rodney Veal, is available to stream anytime from anywhere on YouTube or the PBS app.
So now we're going to shift into because there's this whole series on social change and social justice.
Mhm.
How, as an art maker, and we're in some interesting times, we'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that. We are in some interesting times.
Yeah.
Like why because I mean, I know some folks who love to go see art, but which I never understood the phrase, but art shouldn't be political. But I'm like, well,
Why
all art
not?
is, why not? And it's like it's all political because it's all based in society and culture, which
Yeah.
is political. But as a poli sci person, I digress. So my question
I
so
like that. Keep going. Keep going with that.
I was like, but at that, so I like your work does that, and there's a one like what drew you, like what compelled you, I guess is the question, to say that this is the kind of work that you also want to do. It goes beyond just a technical. Yeah.
Well, my parents were kind of a little bit of activists when I was a kid, so I think there's a bit of growing up with that. That's an important thing that one should try to make the world a better place. And um, I started. It's a hard for me. It was a very hard thing to. Okay, what is my first project going to be, and how is it? And because I started as an older mature. I don't know. Okay, I was middle-aged, person. I'm 62, so I just
Yeah.
turned 60. So
Okay.
I really wanted to focus on what I saw as the solution and
Hmm.
not as the problem.
Oh, wow.
And so to me, that was about showing the beauty of diversity, the beauty of people interacting harmoniously together, and um, what does that world look like that we want to live in, or I want to live in it anyway. And
Right.
and here's an interesting thing. Like when we look at the history of Western art, and we talk about it, same use terms apply to music, apply to art. We have balance, we have form, we have color, we have variation, rhythm, all these different things. So what's missing when you look at the people in Western art? They're all white, right? We're missing color. It's a flaw that we have gotten used to seeing and not pointing out. And so I really like to point that out. And um let's change it. Let's reclaim it. And artists out there everywhere, no matter what color you are or aren't, think about that. Like, are you contributing to the solution, or are maybe you continuing in an unconscious way, continuing the bias? Um,
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
yeah, like I think if we say, and artists often are, very social justice minded, and yet how can you use your art to put beauty in the way into the world, but in a way that serves everyone.
Hmm. And well, and also too, and that I think that goes to I'm piggybacking on this because I feel like that is the when I say, well, how can you say art? Oh, I don't want to look at art that's political, or it's too political. It's like, no, it's all political. Beauty
Yeah.
is politics. I mean, who, like, it goes back to what you said about how you navigate the world and the complexity
Hmm.
of heritages. It's all there if you pay attention,
Yeah,
which
we
is
can
what
choose to be blind to it, or we can choose to see it, and it's there. It is there, absolutely there, 100%,
yeah,
thousand
and it's
percent.
1000%. And so there's this beautiful series of works, and I'm it's the ones where you've taken these beautiful, almost Renaissance like photographs that incorporate clearly the culture of the sitter,
Hmm.
as well as the backdrop being having sort of this formalist. I mean, I got in, see, art nerd, little art nerd.
Awesome. Yeah.
They were portraits of women, and I
Hmm.
just found it very fascinating how it felt like, to your point, these are women of color. These are definitely women who were not of European descent, but you captured them in such a regal state that I just kept staring at the
Mm,
photos, and I was like,
thank
oh,
you.
I was like, go
That's
Tina, go, go Tina,
yeah.
go on that background. So that's where your classical music roots come in, didn't it? I was like,
Oh, the Baroque, because I'm an early.
oh,
I started out as classical guitar, but now I primarily play early music, lute and Renaissance guitar. So the Baroque and Renaissance is a
ooh,
huge, and I've always loved that art anyway. And when you look at those artists clearly studied movement and alignment, and those Greek forms of
mhm.
contrappusto and the line. I mean, it's all about the balance and the form, um, so what was the question?
Me, I'm like, that's what I mean. It's like, well, this thing is like, how well you incorporate all that. Talk about how you
Oh,
incorporate all that. It's like the fact that it's you early. That's the thing. You still do music as
oh yeah,
well.
I do. I do. I love. It's off and on. It's hard to serve all these muses, but it's music will never leave what I do, and I work. I do work on it and try to. I've always wanted to combine music and visual, and I'm still working on how to do that. It's a little trickier.
Ooh.
Um, but so yeah, so this series, it's called America with an accent over the E. So America can be a woman's name, but it can also be a place. And America with the accents gives it, I think, is a nice sort of name that
Mhm.
sort of combines the
Yeah.
two. And so the series is about the identity of Latina and Hispanic women in basically in the U. Or there are people I know. So there's, it's Southwestern Ohio. A few people have come in from out of town, and I've gotten to photograph them, but women of all heritages,
Mhm.
heritages,
Yeah, their heritages. It works.
yeah,
It works.
um,
It
from,
works.
from different places. we talk on the phone. I get their story. We do a big interview. I talk about, if there was, and each are pictured with a natural like an animal or a plant or something, just to show the nurturing feminine quality
Mm.
of women. And then I'm a huge fashion person, so I've thrifted all of these clothes, and I'll put them together
Okay.
in cost. I'll make costumes, or I'll assemble costumes in a way that look like that were in the Renaissance or the Baroque, but really it's mostly 1980s and 90s clothing. So just assembled in a way that's
I
interesting.
I would
And
never have thought that those are clothes from the eight. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
really wouldn't.
yeah,
You
yeah.
did good, Tina. You did
Oh,
good.
thank you.
You did
You look real
good.
close. You might own, there might be, some of the people in your life may own pieces of like that in their wardrobe. And it's just, I've just always loved clothes and assembling them and putting together unusual outfits. And I always make historical references or ethnic references in like the outfit. I try to dress that way too sometimes. Just have a nod to a different period or a nod to
Mm.
a different country. Or I just think it just makes dressing more fun. And it just, I like to be conscious of other cultures and eras. And so anyway, so yeah, so those are, and then the backgrounds are all like sort of Renaissance inspired. I like to think there's an element of magical realism in there too.
Oh,
That that
little
that
Isabella Allende. I mean, I get it.
yes.
Marquez. Oh, see, huh?
Yeah, very
I mean,
influenced by those
ooh,
people and those
oh,
those artists, and because the images are a little surreal, but they also look like Renaissance or Baroque, but they're clearly not. Um,
right.
and so it's a reclamation series. It's about putting these women back into history in a way that's positive and healing. And so it'll take a couple hours to do these shoots, and we will cry together, we will
Mm.
laugh together, we will talk about their upbringing and discrimination, and what does it mean to be Hispanic or Latina or whatever term they may identify with,
Mhm.
in this world right now, and how does that, and in the changing political environment, especially right now.
Especially right
So
now. And so I just love the fact that how you describe it. It's like this. I mean, it's this. I can't even imagine as a sitter. I couldn't even imagine this notion of that collaborative and in order because it just comes across with so
mhm.
much emotion and I'm just thinking and beauty which I that's the other part I'm an aestheticist so I said it out loud aesthetics matter people sorry and I'm like
I feel that way too. I feel that way too. Totally on board.
it's
Yeah.
like, come on, people, come on. I need to. I mean, you could be conceptual, but you gotta understand how we take in visually things, and even in its rawness. But there's a refinement to, but it's beyond just the surface refinement because you described it. You laughed together, you cried together. These women are sharing who they were, and you captured it. I'm just like, ooh. So is there different like do the I because clearly the technical skills of the other types of the underwater photography is vastly different from the sitting with the portraits, um,
Ooh,
or is it about the same?
it
I don't know. I'm
is.
asking.
I
Yeah.
mean, ooh, there's still the alignment. There's still the alignment has to be just right. There's this thing that happens, when so in both of those, I will go through the whole facial exercise thing with both of them. So
Oh,
we're trying to get to a relaxed state. Um, and then but there's this thing that happens, and more so in the portrait, because I do like eye contact in the portrait. It's harder to get that underwater. But there's this thing that once the spine is aligned and the face is relaxed, there's this thing that happens in the eyes that connects. It's in the studio and in person, it's absolutely powerful. And I know the second it happens, and it takes a while to get to it, but when it happens, it's unbelievably powerful. And
mm,
it I'm constantly shocked when it happens. It's like a jolt of electricity. I'm like, oh, there it is. There it is. It's
Ooh.
the moment or the look or that connection. I don't like to use the word connection because everybody uses it, but it's true. But it's real. It's so real, and there's this almost primal thing that
Mm,
comes through that's so human that
mm.
I'm addicted to it. I gotta have it. I
Gotta have it.
gotta
So
have it.
let me ask you, once like, do you stop once you see it? Once you got it, you're like,
No,
you keep trying. Okay,
no,
I mean, no, I'm saying,
keep going, because
you keep
I
it.
call it insurance.
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
I think I've got it. I think I've got it, but I also, if they've got time and I've got time, I kind of want to see where else it could go, because I can set up all
mm,
these control parameters and but then
mm.
sometimes things can happen that I don't expect, and I want to allow for that. So, and I want the insurance pictures too, just in case, because I tell my students, don't trust that camera is in focus until you double check it 10 times. Even if it's manual, even if you're doing everything you were supposed to do, double check it, double check it, double check it
Every
over and
time,
over,
over
because
again.
you just don't know what could go. You can't even imagine all the things that can go wrong.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think we've been lulled into this sense of, oh, how easy it is if with these lovely devices
Hmm.
of capturing imagery, but it's not the same. It is just
It's
not.
not. It's
It's
not.
not the same. And
Yeah,
I
I hate
I, I
that.
firmly, yeah, it's like it serves its purpose, but it is not the device. It never is the device. I always tell people all the time, it's like it's not the device. It's the person using the device. Their humanity in using the device has to override everything else, and
Yeah.
that's how it comes through. Otherwise, like, it's something that it's not a device. Well, it kind of is in using your body, and it's a thing. It's a phrase that I'm probably going to get slapped for in the dance world. Um, I used to call it "dead girl on point," and it was technically, oh, everything is right where it needs to be, but I'm feeling nothing. I
Mm,
feel nothing.
mm,
And I know it's in you because I've seen you laugh, I've seen you cry, I've seen you struggle, I've seen you work it through. Can I get that through your performance? And it would always,
mm,
as a teacher, it's always a shock, that they're like, oh, it's more than just perfection. It's the connection. That phrase.
mm.
I
Are you
gotta
embodied? The embodiment of,
that's the
yeah,
word. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond, it goes
Eh,
beyond technical, and that's where the artistry comes in. Is
Oh.
is yeah, you are, as a dancer, you are the art. You
Mhm.
are it. And but there's different states of artistic embodiment that we can check out, we can phone it in, or we can be fully present. And depending on how the day went, there's all kinds of various levels of that.
And that's why it's so
Yeah.
important to, like, well, the thing is, it's the time and timing. I mean, I think your story to me is about the timing of when to shift into this world of creation that you've come to be known for is really important. And I think so. As we are coming to the end, see, it was almost an hour without even trying.
That's incredible. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
Oh, I could talk to
come
you
on.
all day long. This has really been
Well,
fun.
I told you,
So much.
conversational.
So
I
much.
love it. I love talking about art. So, and then the process. And so, I'm kind of curious. What would you tell someone who may think that it's too late, that you can't make a shift and pivot into this creative realm? I mean, what would you tell them?
I would say it's never too late. I mean, I'd say the obvious thing. It's never too late. I mean, I
Scream it
started
at them,
doing,
please.
yeah,
Scream it
come
out.
on. Really, just get on YouTube. Find something you're passionate about that you will work hard at. What are you passionate about? Is it a cause? Like, I do a lot of ideation stuff, maybe a lecture here or there about ideation for students. And like, what is your cause? Are you passionate about? Take that cause and then use the iPhone. I mean, I shouldn't be down on iPhone. They're great devices. Love them.
Yeah, keep
I just
doing.
don't want to use it. But use that iPhone and find a way to promote your cause. And through that, go on YouTube and learn some techniques. Learn iPhone photography. Whatever camera you've got is good. They're all good. I hate talking about gear because you know what? They're all good. Use the one you've got. Go on
Yeah.
YouTube, type in whatever it is, and listen to some experts on how to get better at it. The technique isn't as hard as you would think. You just got to practice it. If you've ever played an instrument, you know that it doesn't happen overnight. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with talent. It has to do with practice, practice, practice. Put your hours in. I practice real hard because I am not naturally talented. I work really hard at it. And I
Wow.
find that, when people say, "Oh, you're talented," it's almost a little insulting. Actually, no, I work my butt off.
I saw that censor.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
but that is the
Yeah.
truth. That is such a true
I
thing.
wasn't born with any of
Mm.
this, and I don't think people are. If you read, Malcolm Gladwell's, I always recommend read Malcolm Gladwell's. What is it?
Yes.
Tipping Point, about these
Mhm.
people we think are naturally gifted, like Mozart and Tiger Woods, and they started as babies they had mentors, and they had their 10,000 hours in between by the time they were 4 or 5 or 7 years old. So of course they seemed like these miracles, but
Miracles, but
no,
put the
has nothing
time
to
in.
do with that. Yeah,
You
it's
got to put the time in. You have.
Mhm.
I tell people. I was telling someone the other day, and we were talking about dancing, and I said I finally understood it and embodied it, and it was time to retire. I was like, "Dang
Right.
it." Like, why? Well, God, I wish I was 22 again. And I'm like, nope, but that still impermeates everything I do. It's like even this conversation, even like doing the podcast, it's all there. It's like, and I
Mhm.
tell people like, it's never too late. It's all there. And I love how you talk about technique. So I think people get kind of freaked out about technology. A camera is intimidating, but it's just a tool.
It's just a tool, and you know what? I use aperture, ISO, shutter speed. 3 things. That's all I use on that camera. Learn those 3. Just learn them. I mean, they are hard to learn all 3 and play them like an instrument. But it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Like anybody can do it. I swear. That's not the hard part. The hard part is, what's your vision? What's your idea?
Mm.
Working on, what are you passionate about? How can I show that? That's the harder part. That takes so much more mental energy and learning than the technique. It's just for in photography. Now, other art forms.
I
It's
think
music, like for instance, dance. That's the body has to have the 10,000 hours.
it has to, but I think that universal thought process is applicable. I mean, I just feel like I think I genuinely believe in that. That's why I was like, oh, I couldn't wait to talk to you, Tina. I was like, oh, I think we're simpatico about this. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
and isn't that funny? Like you can sense. That's what I hope from all of these especially this conversation, that it's there. Go seek out, go touch the photo focus building. just run your hand against
Cornerstone.
it.
There's a cornerstone there. Just touch that one. Like that one.
Just
is
touch
really
it.
particularly
And
nice.
right.
I like it.
And I highly encourage everybody in this who's listening to this, seek out Tina's work, because she's about it. So
Yeah.
Tina, this is lovely. This was a lovely conversation. Thank you.
Oh, I've enjoyed it so very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor. And I wasn't expecting it to be this much fun. I was a little nervous, actually, but thank you for making it just really fun.